You know what I keep thinking about? Laying here in this bed. Machines doing half the work my body used to do on its own. I keep thinking about my brother Dennis's car. A 1967 Buick Riviera. Dark green. White interior. That car was something. Dennis pulled up in that car on a Sunday afternoon in September. I was 34 years old. I had a Ford Fairlane with a busted passenger window I had been meaning to fix for 2 months. And Dennis pulled up in that Buick. And I stood on my porch. And I felt something I am not proud of. I felt small. Not because Dennis did anything wrong. He did not rub it in. He was not that kind of man. He just pulled up in a beautiful car, and something in me immediately started calculating. How far behind am I? What does he have that I do not? What does that say about me? My name is Frank, 97 years old, 36 years carrying mail in Cleveland. 2 kids, 1 wife. Thank God, just the one. She put up with enough from me. And the thing I want to tell you, the thing I have been sitting here trying to figure out how to say, is that I wasted an embarrassing amount of my life looking at what other people had and feeling like whatever I had was not quite right. Not quite enough. Not quite where it was supposed to be. And the thing is, nobody asked me to do that. Nobody held a gun to my head and said, Frank, you better spend the next 60 years comparing yourself to everybody around you. I just did it. On my own. Voluntarily. Every single day. Let me tell you about Dennis first, because you need to understand this is not a story about Dennis being bad. This is a story about me being, I do not know, stuck. I think that is the word. Stuck. Dennis was 4 years older than me. He was the first to graduate high school. First to go to college, first to get married, first to own a house, first to get a promotion, first to have grandkids. Dennis was always just 4 years ahead of me on everything. Now here is the thing about that. That is just math. He was 4 years older. Of course he got there first. A 4-year head start is a 4-year head start. But my brain did not see it that way. My brain saw it as, Dennis is winning. Dennis is ahead. Dennis figured something out that you have not figured out yet. What is wrong with you, Frank? What is wrong with you, Frank? I heard that voice for 60 years. Sometimes quiet. Sometimes loud, but always there, always watching what Dennis had, what my neighbor had, what the guys at work had, what people on television had, always running the comparison, and always coming up a little short. I want to tell you what that actually looked like day to day, because it sounds maybe like something small, like something you can just decide to stop. It is not small, and you cannot just decide to stop. Dennis got a boat when we were both in our 40s. Nothing fancy, a little fishing boat, 12-foot aluminum thing. Took it out on the lake on weekends. And I remember hearing about that boat and thinking, I need to get a boat. I do not even like fishing. My wife, Helen, God rest her. She looked at me when I brought it up, and she said, "Frank, you have been on a boat twice in your life. Both times you complained the whole way through. Why do you want a boat?" And I said, "I just think it would be nice." What I meant was, Dennis has one and I do not. And that gap is bothering me. And a boat would close the gap. I did not get the boat. Helen talked me out of it. Helen talked me out of a lot of things over the years that I wanted for the wrong reasons. She was good at seeing through me like that, in the way that only someone who has known you for a very long time can. Emotion, calm. She knew me better than I knew myself. But the boat was just one example. There were 100 versions of the boat over 60 years. A bigger house than we needed. A truck I could not really afford. Vacations we took not because we wanted to go there, but because someone else had gone there and talked about it. A constant grinding, reaching for things that were not really mine. And underneath all of it, the same question: am I enough? Does what I have, what I have done, who I turned out to be, does that add up to something? Or am I somehow still behind? I want to tell you about the moment I understood what I had been doing wrong. It was not a big moment. That is what surprised me. I expected it to be big. I expected some kind of, I do not know, thunder, something dramatic. It was just a Tuesday morning, and I was 79 years old, sitting at my kitchen table with my coffee, and Dennis called, just to talk, the way we did by then. We were old. We had time. We called each other, and we talked for maybe an hour about nothing much. Old stories. His grandkids. Mine. How his knee was doing. How my back was doing. Just talking. And when we hung up, I sat there for a minute, and I thought, I love that man. I genuinely love my brother. And I spent 40 years resenting what he had, instead of just loving him. That is what the comparing took from me. Not just peace of mind, not just contentment. It took 40 years of a relationship with my own brother, because I could not look at him without running the numbers, without feeling that low hum of not good enough, not there yet, behind. And Dennis, Lord, Dennis never knew. He was just my brother, just living his life, getting up in the morning, going to work, buying a boat because he liked fishing, not because he was trying to beat me, not because he was measuring anything. He was not in the race. I made up the race all by myself. I made up the race. I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself about the answer. Not with me, with yourself. Who are you racing right now? Come on. You know who it is. There is somebody. There is always somebody. Maybe it is a sibling. Maybe it is a friend from college. Maybe it is somebody you follow online, somebody you have never even met, but you check on them. Do you not? You check and see what they are doing, what they have, where they are. And then you come back to your own life, and something has shifted. Something feels a little less. That is the game. And here is the thing about the game. You cannot win it. There is no winning it, because there will always be someone with more, with better, with further along. Always. As long as you are measuring your insides against other people's outsides, you will always lose. Here is something I figured out at 79 that I wish I had figured out at 30. Nobody's life is what it looks like from the outside. Nobody's. Not Dennis with his Buick. Not the neighbor with the bigger house. Not the person on your phone with the perfect looking everything. Dennis told me something once. We were in our 80s by then. And he said, "Frank, you always seemed like you had it more together than me. You had Helen. You had your job. You always seemed steady." And I laughed. I could not help it. I said, "Dennis, I spent 30 years wishing I was you." He looked at me like I had lost my mind. He said, "Why on earth would you wish that?" And I said, "The Buick, the house, the boat. You always just seemed like you were ahead." And Dennis was quiet for a moment. And then he said, "Frank, I had a drinking problem for 15 years. My first marriage almost fell apart twice. I had a scare with my heart at 52 that I never told the family about. I was scared out of my mind for most of my 40s. I was not ahead. I was just getting through it. Like everybody else. Like everybody else. Everybody is just getting through it." The person you are comparing yourself to right now. The one whose life looks like they figured something out that you have not figured out. They have a version of Dennis's story. Guaranteed. Something you do not see. Something they do not post about. Something that keeps them up at night. Some way in which they feel behind. There is no ahead. There is no behind. There is just people getting through it with what they have.
More.
I want to tell you about Helen, because she is the part I got right. Or, she is the part that got me right. Which is more accurate. Helen never compared herself to anybody. Not once that I ever saw. Somebody would get something new and she would say, "Good for them," and mean it. No edge to it. No undercurrent. Just good for them. I used to think that was. I do not know. Simple somehow. Like she just was not paying attention. Like she did not understand how the world worked. I had it exactly backwards. She understood something I did not understand until I was very old. That other people's good fortune is not a threat to yours. That somebody else getting something good does not take anything away from you. That the world is not a pie where every slice someone else gets means one less slice for you. when Helen was happy for Dennis about the boat. That happiness did not cost her anything. She just was happy for him, and then went back to her own life, her own actual life, the one right in front of her. Boy, she was the most content person I ever knew, and she did not have more than anyone around her. She just wanted what she had. That is it. That is the whole secret. She wanted what she had. I learned that eventually, mostly from watching her, mostly from living with someone who did it naturally for 49 years, until it finally sank in. She passed 11 years ago, and I will tell you, I think about her every single day, not with grief. Well, some grief. You do not love someone for 49 years and not grieve them, but mostly with something more like gratitude. Like, I cannot believe I got to be around that for that long. Emotional calm. I cannot believe I got that. And here's the thing. While I was busy looking at what Dennis had, while I was busy measuring and calculating and feeling behind, I had Helen right there, in my actual house, living my actual life, being the most remarkable, ordinary person I have ever known. I was looking the wrong way. The whole time, I kept looking over the fence, and what I had was right there in the kitchen. What are you looking past right now? I am asking you that direct, not to be harsh, because I know what it costs to finally look what is right in front of you that you keep not fully seeing because you are too busy looking at what somebody else has. The life you have right now, the actual one, not the one you are building toward, not the one you will have when things get better. The one today, there is something in it. I promise you, there is something in it that you will miss if you spend all your time measuring it against something else. Dennis died 4 years ago, 89 years old, and at his funeral, people talked about him the way people talk at funerals, and what they said was not about the Buick, was not about the boat, was not about the house or the job or any of the things I spent decades measuring myself against. They talked about how he laughed, how he always had time for you, how he remembered things about you that you had forgotten yourself, how being around him made you feel like you were good, you were fine. Whatever you had was enough. Emotional, calm, that was Dennis. That was the real thing he had, and I was too busy looking at his car to see it. I am 97 years old, and I am telling you this from a hospital bed with a tube in my arm. And it is, I want to say it is funny, but it is not really funny. It is just plain. None of it mattered. The gap between what I had and what Dennis had, none of it mattered. Not one bit. Not the cars. Not the houses. Not who got there first. Not the score I was keeping. None of it. What mattered was Helen in the kitchen, and Dennis on the phone on a Tuesday, and my kids when they were small, running in the backyard, not knowing yet that there was any race to be in, not measuring anything, just running. That was the whole thing. That was always the whole thing. Stop looking over the fence. What you have is over there, on your side, right now, waiting for you to actually look at it. My name is Frank, 97 years old, postal worker, Cleveland. Nobody special. Exactly enough. Go home and look at your life.